talking about AEW Dynamite from January 13th, 2021, part 2 of their New Year's bashing something. Um, yeah, so it's going to be a pretty interesting show this week. I wanted to check it out. I haven't watched Dynamite in a week, so I kind of missed out on all the excitement from last week, but I caught up on it. Before we get into the review, though, of course, I've always got some free stuff for you guys. You know, I try to hook you up. Down in the description box below, you can get a 30-day free trial to Amazon Prime. If you've never used Amazon Prime, you can get some stuff for free. You can get heavy discounts on other items, all available on Amazon, where most of the Western world shops today. So definitely check that out. If you haven't done it yet, take advantage of that 30-day free trial offer for Amazon Prime. Now on to the review. We started off the show with PAC and Eddie Kingtson, and Eddie Kingtson is somebody who I wasn't really enamored with when he came in and got the title shot against Moxley. I liked him on NWA Power, but I wasn't too wild about him when he first came in AEW, but as time has gone on, he's definitely won me over. He's one of my favorite things on AEW Dynamite. PAC coming back, looking in phenomenal shape. He's as crisp as ever. The match winds up with mostly PAC beating the crap out of Kingston. Looked like Kingston may have dinged himself up a little bit during the match, but it ends with, of course, PAC winning the match. We had the run-in, of course, with everybody piling into the ring, Pentagon, Phoenix, Butcher and the Blade, everybody's in there. And, of course, the Murder Hawk comes out. Now, this apparently was filmed before he cut his hair, because apparently Lance Archer cut his hair, as it's been intimated on his Twitter account. So I'm not so sure if this is before or after that. Well, obviously it's before that, so I don't know what he's going to look like. So it's going to be curious to see on the next Dynamite, the next time Archer's booked for it, to see what that new hairstyle is all about. The big thing, however, with this is that there's an animosity still between PAC and Lance Archer, which is the collision that's going to come out of this. One thing I will say is a negative about this show going forward is that it's interesting how they weave a lot of different storylines together and having people in multiple storylines, but it can be a little confusing in how you book it and how you present it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Jurassic Express took on FTR in a match that I thought FTR would probably not give as much as they did, but I was actually shocked at how much they gave to Marco Stunt to help put Marco Stunt over. They did. I mean, this was perfect work. This just goes to show what professionals that FTR really are and how good they are, that they can wrestle against virtually any team and make it work and make it an exciting tag team match. I also like Britt Baker's waiting room segment. I've seen it on YouTube as part of Dynamite in the past, and I always thought it was a really good segment on there, and it's now made it onto the main show for AEW. Her kind of roasting Cody before he even came out was pretty funny. Cody comes out. Cody didn't say much in this thing because immediately we had Shaq's girl, Jade, whatever her name is, and she came out and got in Cody's face and talked about Brandy, and then I think it's Velvet Sky. I can't remember who it was. Somebody came in, and it happened so fast. I was trying to keep track of everybody that was in there and what was going on, and then we get the premiere. We get some sort of Thunder Rosa promo and all of this stuff from Britt Baker. Britt's really good in this segment. This is probably one of the better talking, talk show segments on wrestling shows in a while. I mean, I miss Piper's Pit, of course, the legendary Piper's Pit, and Jericho's highlight reel, and there's been a bunch of them over the years. And Britt Baker, I think, let this run for a year. As good as she is at it so far, I want to see how good this segment can get. It's again a little bit of old school brought back into the modern era. Then we have the Elite, or what we thought was going to be Elite, taking on the Varsity Blondes and Danny Limelight, who I haven't seen much of Danny Limelight. What I saw in this match is pretty cool, though. So we're looking at a future superstar there. Get that kid to the best of the Super Juniors next year, please. But this was a pretty cool match, because not so much because of the action in the match, but the whole funny bit that the Bucks think they're going to the match. Don Callis, being the slimy slimeball that he is, convinced them, we'll have separate entrances, only to swerve them by introducing Omega and then saying that his partners were not the Young Bucks, but Gallows and Anderson, of course, the Impact Tag Champions, former members of Bullet Club, along with Kenny and the Bucks. And then they take a shot to the back of Tony Khan. Tony Khan needs to spend less time on camera. He's getting a little bit too frequent for me now. But Tony Khan and the Bucks are there, and they're kind of, they're like, oh, this is how you're going to play it, right? So the funny part comes, though, is that Omega's doing most of the work in this match. So even Tony Schiavone started to speculate is maybe Omega's getting played in this too, because, you know, there's some interesting paths that they can go with this whole thing. I think this is long term too. I think we're not going to see a resolution to what the real ending to this Impact, to AEW, Kenny Omega, Don Callis relationship is. It could be a swerve. After the match, of course, you know, Omega, Gallows, and Anderson win. Jon Moxley comes down. He starts fighting all three of them by himself because he's Jon Moxley and he can do that. But he starts getting beat up a little bit. The locker room empties. There's a lot of this going on tonight. Pull apart. The Bucks come out to try to calm down Jon Moxley, but they get super kicked by Pentagon and Phoenix. This again is what I'm talking about, mixing different people in different storylines. People having multiple storylines. It can get a little confusing. So not only is Penta and Phoenix fighting the First Family, which has a secondary feud attached to that, but they're now involved with this whole thing with Gallows, Anderson, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a match where it's maybe Omega and along with Gallows and Anderson against Moxley and the Young Bucks, which would be a very nice. They're so good at putting those wrinkles in those personal elite storylines that they do. There's always some subtle personal thing that you can kind of feel because we all know that these guys are all like best friends. So it's pretty cool to see that. They can't overdo it though. I think they need to chill on that type of storyline after this one is done and not always go to the well with the who's on whose side. Are you really my friend and you're not my friend? Now you are my friend kind of thing. You can only do that but so many times before it wears itself out. Taylor basically got his butt kicked by Miro. Actually, Chuck Taylor had a lot of good offense at the beginning of the match, but ultimately it was game over, formerly known as the Acolyte by Miro, to get the submission win. And this is one of those throwback old school stipulations where now Chuck Taylor has to be the servant of Miro for 30 days. I used to love these. This is an old Crockett thing. You know, this is probably Cody's thing. This old Crockett storyline that they did so many times back in the day. If this person loses this match, either they or their valet or their manager would have to be somebody's servant or butler or whatever for 30 days. So expect to see a couple weeks of some hopefully really funny promos and skits behind the scenes for the sports entertainment portion of Dynamite. Which could be good, depending on how well they do it. These guys seem to have a lot of chemistry together, though. However, this does leave another interesting point by Excalibur and Tony Schiavone. Orange Cassidy, Pro Wrestling Illustrated's most popular wrestler of the year, by the way. Orange Cassidy is now on his own. No Trent and no Chucky for about a week, or a month, I should say. And now Orange Cassidy's got to stand on his own. And I like that. I like that that's a little subtle wrinkle that happenstance helped create in the storyline, and I wonder where they could take it in the future. Serena Dee took on Tay Conti. Tay Conti, a lot of people have said that she's so much better than when she was at the Performance Center. Yeah, it's true. She's really improved a lot. Serena Dee, who's somebody I've not watched a lot of over the years. I've just been trying to catch up since I saw her on Dynamite. I was like, okay, and she won the NWA Championship. I was like, who is this? I didn't know anything about her. I looked up what I could about her online. She's really a solid wrestler and showed it in this match why she is one of the best in the business as far as women's wrestlers and extremely underrated. But fortunately, at least with Dynamite, she's being seen by hundreds of thousands of people, so that's a good thing. Tay Conti, she did a good job in this match. Again, she played her role well. Kind of the scrappy, younger, inexperienced wrestler wrestling a much more experienced veteran. But having those flourishes, and this is probably one of the more entertaining women's matches I've seen on AEW for a while, so it's a step in the right direction. Again, unfortunately, you have to use NWA's women's talent to get there, but hey, at least it's a symbiotic relationship. They're both benefiting from it. AEW gets good women's matches, and the NWA gets to be seen and heard once again for the first time in years, in decades probably, by more people than has ever heard the term NWA used. And for wrestling in the last, 20 years maybe? In the main event, of course, it was Darby Allin defending the TNT Championship against the FTW unofficial champion, Brian the Machine, Wolverine, Cage. And Team Taz on commentary, doing what Taz does best. He's actually starting to crack me up with his commentary, especially during this match. He's trying to put a spin on everything, and then he just can't help but go, come on, Brian, Because Cage, technically, and only in pro wrestling does Brian Cage lose any kind of physical confrontation with somebody like Darby Allin. And you saw it in this match because Cage did not have any compunction about throwing Darby Allin everywhere around there, threw him over here to the corner, throw him into the turnbuckle, pick him up and throw him over the rope into the table outside, powerbomb him in the rope. Like, Cage literally powerbombed him like 3 times in a row, like, you know, on one of those Daffy Duck cartoons where they just start smashing something down over and over again. That's literally what he did to Darby Allin. I mean, some of those spots look brutal. Throwing him outside onto that stage near that step, which I always think is extremely dangerous because it's got the step on there, and if he falls and hits his neck on that thing, yeah, not a good look there. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Thank God. You know, they are professionals, so I do trust they know what they're doing. But it always scares me every time they do that spot. But some fantastic work here as the underdog against the much stronger, bigger challenger. Darby Allin plays this role so well. I don't know how many of these title matches he's going to be able to survive, given the fact that he's getting his butt kicked like this. So hopefully his next title defense won't be against somebody who's basically going to just throw him around like a rag doll. I mean, it was hard to watch at times because Darby was taking some serious bumps. But Sting comes out, gets his little moment, his comeuppance. He gets to use the bat finally on Team Taz. But Darby Allin won this match all on his own without any help from Sting. Basically a crucifix suplex. He turned a Samoan drop into a crucifix suplex off the top rope. Got Brian Cage's shoulders down for the 3 count and successfully retained the TNT Championship. There was a stare down afterwards, but of course I don't think this is over by any shot between Team Taz and the Angels of Darkness, I guess we should call Sting and Darby Allin. It's so the combination of them is just so cool because Darby Allin is just out of overnight sensation almost in the world of wrestling, and then to immediately have those comparisons to Sting a little bit, and then have Sting actually giving him the rub right now, which is what's happening. I think that's really, really cool. I think that's really, really cool, and if this is Sting's last storyline in wrestling, I like this, that it's him passing the torch on to somebody else, if that's what's going on. Of course, this could all wind up with Sting turning on Darby Allin in the future, but who knows. But for right now, I think this is pretty cool. The jocks versus the goth kids, essentially, is what this feud is. And it's working out well. Again, that was a really good match, even though it was hard to watch. Overall, this episode of Dynamite, again, my only real issue with it is that there's a little bit too much mingling of storylines. There's guys who are in multiple feuds and feuds within feuds and stuff, so it can get a little bit too much, but I think that's just into the execution, and that will come with time. You know, these guys have only been doing the show for like a little over a year, and they're doing a phenomenal job for that time frame. As time goes on, they're going to learn all this stuff, you know, so, and they'll get this a lot more smooth, or at least smooth transition, so it's easy to follow, and I don't need a chart to go, well, Penta and Phoenix are feuding with them, but Archer's feuding with Kingston, and Kingston's feuding with PAC, but PAC and Archer are feuding, and Pentagon is also, and Phoenix are also feuding with the Bucks, who are kind of feuding with Kenny, but not really feuding with Kenny, FTR. You know, it gets a little. you need a chart. I'm gonna put it up, that video with the guy that's doing all the stuff and numbers flying around his head or whatever. But yeah, that's my only complaint about it. Otherwise, it was a great show. Highlights were Marco Stunt's performance and FTR's performance. Loved the first match with PAC and Eddie Kingtson. The main event was pretty damn good, and this is one of the better women's matches I've actually watched on AEW Dynamite. So next week we'll see if we're going to come back with another review. I might review NXT next week, depending on which one I watch first. So I'll let you guys know in the future. But if you guys like this show, if you guys liked AEW Dynamite or had any comments or criticisms of it, let your voice be heard in the comment box below. And also, of course, don't forget to give a Judas effect to the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. Just bam, bam, bam with your elbow and help out the channel with the algorithm. And, you know, we're still getting back to the way we used to be, slowly but surely, but it's getting there. And I definitely appreciate you guys for doing your part and helping out with hitting the like buttons and all that stuff. So I'll see you guys soon for more news, rumors, and reviews right here on the Rant and Review. Have a good day.